I hit the wrong screen again. I did the same thing last week. I got on autopilot and hit main. There's a screen on my stream deck right in front of me that just says main. And I was like, I got to push it, but that's the wrong
I
one.
mean, I would love to do another Out of Combat live, but today's Tome of Knowledge.
I know. Hello, adventurers. My name is Maximus. Hello. I am here with Boobs Like Jagger from the GGN crew.
Hello.
We're here on Caches and Cantrips, Tome of Knowledge, where we share all of our knowledge with you about Dungeons and Dragons.
Can we do cool, like, finger things? T-O-K.
You can make it up, and I'll try my best.
I don't know.
That was the right way for camera. It looked like a K for me.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
We'll workshop it. We'll see what happens.
Well, when we get VS next week, he can be one of the letters too.
Oh, you do one, and then I do the O, or whoever the placement is, and then VS will.
Yeah, wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever that is supposed to be.
We'll vote.
Yeah. We'll work on it. So welcome to the show. Before we get into the topic, I want to say if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, please do. Because we are 70 away from having 1,000 subscribers.
Oh man, we are 70 away.
Mm-hmm. That is our next major milestone to monetization, and then we need people to do some watch hours, but we have to have the subscribers. I know we're gonna get the hours, we just have to have the subscribers. So if you haven't yet, please do. We have our awesome shorts videos that are fantastically edited and curated by our very own moobs. We have all of our live streams that go there too, and we have all of our campaign episodes. And starting this Friday, we have you mentioned a little bit ago, Out of Combat, which is our after show that we do after our live streams for the campaign episodes, and that's only on YouTube, so you can only find it there.
And podcast format.
Yes, and it's in podcast format. But if you want to watch,
you can do on YouTube now, which is wild.
I set them as podcasts too. This is actually a podcast now too. This is a podcast playlist. Congratulations.
The podcast within a podcast within a vodcast.
It's vodpodception. Yeah, Meerkat. I'm no longer asking. I am saying you have to do this, please. I beg of you. No, I'm kidding. If you were a fan of Campaign 1, and you haven't got any merch from that, do so before the end of this month because it will be gone forever. We're doing a complete overhaul of our merch and the site. So if you want anything that says Sweet Justice on it, you can get it. Or I would get it now. So cachesandcantrips.com/merch. And that will take you to it. Aside from that, the biggest announcement I have is that this Friday at 6 p.m. Campaign 2 starts. Brand new campaign. Excellent way to get into the action. Very first episode. It's going to be a good time.
I need to buy new dice.
Do you?
It's just an excuse, really.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I wonder if I can use that excuse too.
Well, it's a new campaign. It's season 2. It's a big moment to need new dice.
That could be a problem because if I need new dice by Friday, I don't have very long to go. That's not enough time.
We can go to Game Chest at the Spectrum and peruse. I don't know how big their collection is, but we can check it out.
Okay, maybe.
I got the hookups, wink.
Okay, perfect. Because I'm very picky about my dice, so they have to wow me. They have to speak to me.
But let's say hello to our friends, because Tome of Knowledge is more intimate and less immersive.
Yes.
Innate Meerkat, good to see you. I see you have a question that's not related to topic, but we're still happy to answer questions if they're not related to topic. Chiba, there's a Wolf, John, Zeus, and Green Bananas. Green, how you doing? So good to see you.
Hope you're doing well, man. It's been I don't know the last time that we. Gosh, I don't remember the last time we even talked. I'm ashamed of myself.
Well, Green told me about this play that's happening local to us that we can check out if you want to watch.
That'll be awesome.
It's gonna be awesome.
I can honestly say that I don't think that I have enough culture in my life via the arts, whether that be music, theater, film. I don't have enough of it. Art.
I got the music down. I go to shows pretty often now.
Yeah. Well, I can tell
If you
you
love
the
if
one
you love
where
the ska, you're welcome to go with me.
that is where our friendship does not overlap.
Oh, well, I'll take you anyways. I'll take Bun. See,
Bun, yeah,
Bun
Bun
wants to
wants to
go.
go. I would love to go to the Getty. Um, oh, that's super cool, Crean. That's super cool.
Enough
Motion
of free
capture.
advertisement for these places because they should sponsor us.
Sure.
Casters and Cantrips Tome Knowledge.
Is upon us with our topic playing D&D on stream. How does that change things? What's different?
A lot.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that it is a lot. It's very different. I probably have different perspective from my side being the DM than you might as a player, for sure.
I think a lot of it overlaps, just because we are live streaming Dungeons and Dragons, and with
Hmm.
the mindset of being fully immersive, and trying not to break character and providing entertainment, really,
Hmm.
while trying to have fun and play the game ourselves. So I think also with like the time constraint because we're trying to keep it to like
Yeah.
3 hours, also kind of limits what we can do.
And I didn't think about it this way either, but something you said made me think in the reverse of how does streaming D&D online versus playing offline versus how does streaming D&D change versus normal streaming too? It's
Yeah,
different for normal streaming as well. It's vastly different.
yeah, big difference.
But I think
Um,
we'll focus on the D&D part first. Makes sense to me.
yeah, I think just alone on the community aspect of D&D, because it's like a very communal game, right? You get together, whether it's
Mhm.
online or in someone's garage, aka mine, with my other group, and like being able to feed off each other's energy, right? Because we're there in person and we can see each other's body language, as
Mhm.
opposed when we're playing online, where we we can't really have that instant reaction. Like when I'm editing our videos a lot, there tends to be a lot of pauses. So like in the
Mhm.
edits, I always cut the pauses out because like it's someone's waiting for someone to react, you
Mhm.
know. But that's just being online in general, not streaming
Yeah.
D&D online. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think too that it's especially streaming you I think there's more of like a group effort or like a group effort of like keeping things rolling, keeping the story rolling, keeping the session rolling. And for me as a DM, there are times that there are things that I avoid, I should say, uh, of happening on stream. So like so we'll say like a shopping like episode. Those are cool to have every once in a while. But I don't think anyone wants to know every single time someone goes to like the general shop and like replenishes their arrows or buys rations, like that kind of stuff. Those are the kind of things that I kind of indicate to the players that hey, you've got the gold, you know the equipment list in the player's handbook, just buy it. Just do it. We don't have to go through that um because the way I normally like to run campaigns, and you all were able to skirt around it for the most part, is you got to use your rations, you got to pay for stuff, um, but nobody really wants to see that probably unless there's a reason to.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If there's a reason to, like, if you're about to engage in an RP moment when you're shopping, not just
Right.
like, "Hey, I buy X thing. Oh, that's 30 gold, please. Here you go." Like, yeah, that's just something we can skip, especially
Hmm.
in a live environment. Like, if we were playing it offline, then yeah, like, then you could spend an hour doing a shopping episode because shopping takes a long time, especially, depending on the size of your party and every player's needs and wants. So, yeah, I think we've done a great job so far
Hmm.
of minimalizing the shopping episodes and trying not to let it like dominate the episode.
Yeah, and I think that there's sometimes like in campaign one, like when you were haggling for like magical weapons at the assemblage and like talking to a new person, like those are interactions like that if you're in a new town, and that's a really great way to kind of get a feel of like the populace and like what the shops are like and how people deal with business encounters. But for the most part, yeah, I agree with you, and it's something that a lot of times that we skip over. And with that too, I don't want a session to turn into Dungeons and Accounting. I don't want that. That's kind of, I wouldn't say it's a fear of mine, but typically kind of what you all do a great job is like whenever you get like loot, whenever you get stuff from bad guys, you'll like write it in the chat that we have and like, okay, we'll talk about it later. Cause I know for me, like playing in person, you could probably have a 30-minute conversation of, well, you get this many gold, but I want this item, and well, you can have that item. Like that's usually not interesting for stream at all.
Yeah, I mean, camera, we typically, and Max knows about this. We have our own party chat that Max
Mhm.
is not included in, so we're usually so this is another thing that's different from live streaming D&D and just playing D&D is we have a side chat to coordinate with one another so that way there's not too much downtime
Mhm.
or awkward silence of people trying to plan out. We don't do that often. Usually offline we do it. Like, what are we doing next episode? Is if we're like in a cliffhanger or on a battle, we have this side chat to make sure because once we go live, we got to go right. We don't have time to think. So we're
Mhm.
basically this side chat is to prepare ourselves for the next live stream.
Yeah,
So
and
that way we
that's
know what we're doing.
yeah, and kind of what they'll do is they'll ask me like, "Hey, we may like," I'll help them remind them like, "Hey, what do we have out there? Like, what are the things we know about that we know that are on like our quest list?" And that's what they usually use that for. From what I've seen, is you will coordinate and be like, "Okay, here's what's the next thing we want to do after we finish this thing?" Because, like you were saying, when you don't want to wait till you're live to figure out, oh, well, which direction do we want to go, and you don't want to like discuss the merits of each individual quest. You know,
I mean,
unless it's
yeah,
like unless it's like an in character like story discussion that would like build towards the story.
yeah. Everything we do is that's out of character. We use the chat, and then because we're more live streaming, we try to be in character as possible. I don't
Mhm.
know if uh like our viewers and listeners and community want to see that side of Dungeons and Dragons because we have a because before when we started, you had set goals like, hey, it's gonna be a Dungeons and Dragons stream, where it's gonna be
Mhm.
live stream, and we want it to be immersive as possible. So we're not having side banters and
Yeah.
talking over talking people, or we're not looking at our phones and not paying attention. Like we were like super focused, we're in character, and we're not mucking about, like a
Yeah.
normal group would do. Was like something happens and then we go off on tangent and joke about stuff and then get back to the game.
Yeah, and I think that there's definitely room for that, and it's happened. Like, and then those organic moments are okay, but as sort of a group in their session zeros, which is why these are so important, is we've kind of said like, hey, when we're playing the game, you're in character unless specifically like, you say otherwise to kind of help keep the game rolling. Um, One of the things that Meerkat brought up, I believe it was Meerkat. I'm gonna scan real quick to make sure I don't misrepresent, but I believe it was talking about like how many enemies. Which brings me to combat.
Yeah, how many monsters is too much for
It's
an
Wolf.
encounter?
It was Majestic Wolf. Thank you.
Just a wolf.
Sorry,
Mirka has
Wolf.
a
It
Mirka
was
has a
Majestic
question
Wolf.
about a lich, but we can talk about that
Yes.
after we get through our stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, Wolf. Majestic Wolf asked this one. Don't forget to talk about how many monsters is too much for an encounter. Those are things to consider. Because as the DM, anytime that I drop a combat down for the players, I assume it's going to take an hour. I just assume that, and it's a pretty safe assumption unless it's like a softball like encounter, like a super easy encounter. And those are things that you know I kind of have to balance of try to find that happy balance of how much combat versus how much like RP and story come through, because you can definitely have too much of one of those things. Um, but yeah, those are things that I do consider because the more monsters that you add, or that I add, I should say, you're not going to add any. I'm going to add them. The more monsters that I add, the longer combat's going to take. So let's say that you're a party of 4 for campaign 1. Um, if I add 10 monsters for you guys, that's 10 more turns that we have to get through. And I think that sometimes that's okay. But you really have to be mindful of that because the more monsters that I would add, the more I want to get through combat to let you all shine. And I feel like some of like the RP and like descriptions of what the monitors, what the monsters are doing, can fall off because I want to get through the monsters so you can do your cool stuff, but I don't want to have to describe 10 different things that these guys are doing. Um, so
Yeah.
that's something that I 100% think about. And that's totally different from playing at home, right? I
Oh yeah,
mean,
for sure.
you're
'Cause
playing. Oh, go ahead.
no, yeah, because when you're playing, like, when we stay at home, because we're playing live at home, but, like, when you're playing off camera, I'll just say for the sake of off camera, 'cause, that relates to us.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, you can definitely have much longer combats and be more descriptive or do cool things. Not want to say not we don't do cool things, but, like, you're not worried about if are people getting bored? Is this combat too long?
Hmm.
Um, is this fun to watch? You don't have to worry about any of those kinds of things opposed to when we're live streaming.
Yeah, because I think like a 4 hour combat session, like for a stream, could be fun, but you can't make every combat a 4 hour combat session for
Yeah.
stream. It
Yeah.
can happen when epic things and every once in a while. Same thing for the stream, like with RP stuff. Like, that's one of the mistakes that I thought about in campaign one because there was a large amount of time in between where there was no combat whatsoever. And I know, and that's sort of a more of a DM problem, but you've got to kind of balance those, I think, for the show, which is my job pretty much. But
Like, I don't know if you done this, Max, but when I did the Ron shot, like, I was trying to note time, right?
Mhm.
So some like, for example, if you haven't watched the Ron shot yet, the fight with the instruments, I just went to phase 2 right away because it was already like I was like, wow, this is actually taking a lot longer than I anticipated. So I just all right, straight to phase 2, forget about the last 4
Mhm.
instruments and just went right to it. So I don't know if you've done stuff like that for the sake of time keeping.
I've done some things similar to that. I think as the campaign went on, I got better at judging like time as to how long I think things will take and how I can balance that with like difficulty for the players. But that is something that is a tool in the toolbox that the DM can use, like for live stream. Is like, oh, this is gonna, because this was big crunch time for you because you had a one shot, which means you got to be done before four
Yeah.
hours.
I
So
had
that's a
to
lever
finish
that you can pull.
the story because there wasn't gonna be an episode 2. Like, we had to get it all done. So I think there's more pressure in a live scene, in a live stream environment for one shots especially. So
Oh yeah.
the props to all the guest DMs, Zeus,
Hmm.
Jesse. Um, yeah, fantastic job, Max, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. I would rather prep for a campaign than a one shot probably any day because one shot stressed me out, man. Trying to fit those
I was
timelines.
I was pacing my bedroom. I was like, "You could do this. You could do this. It's just one shot. It's only like 3.5, 4 hours. You could." I was like, and I was just like doing breathing exercises, and then as soon as the camera went on, like all the
Yeah.
jitters went away because it was like, all right, it's go time. No, can't be nervous anymore.
Hmm. Gotta
Yo, what's the
go.
pain?
So yeah, I think there's a lot of differences in that regard. And do you think that your interactions with other players or like your character decisions change because we're streaming?
1,000%.
Hmm.
Uh, because um, because we're live and you kind of just have to go, right? You don't have a lot of time to think about a decision. So a lot of it just boils down to what would my character do and what is their gut initial reaction, and then I just go with that. Like, I don't have time to plan things out where, if we're playing around the table off camera, you have that time to deliberate and think.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe even like ask your group like, "Hey, what do you think?" Like, we can't do that in our group. We're like, "Hey, what do you think I should do?" I'm like, "No, like, this is my character. We don't have time to ask that question." Unless it's like if it's like combat, right? You have to go. But if it's like maybe in a more open RP environment, then you can ask
Hmm.
what their character would think your character should do if you
Hmm.
RP it. Yeah, 100%. You just my decision making drastically changed live streaming than playing around the table.
Yeah, and I think part of the biggest like changes that we try to make as streaming this game is to try and cut out like that abstraction layer of players talking to other players and not characters talking to characters.
Yes.
We try our best to try and eliminate like the deliberation, what I call the conversational cul-de-sacs, where what are we supposed to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Well, what do you want to do? Kind of goes round and round in a circle.
And then
Um,
like, I want to do this, and they're like, no, that's dumb. I want to do this instead.
yeah, we try and avoid like the 45-minute discussion of how to handle a trap or something like that, or but that's what we try to cut down on. And I don't think it is a lesser experience either, to be honest, from play standpoint, because I don't know. I think having those constraints makes it a better game, because I don't think anybody likes having those 45-minute how to handle a trap
Oh
discussions.
yeah, absolutely. And you bring up another good discussion point about traps, right? Um, because every time we have an episode, because we do roses and thorns afterwards, and if you guys don't know
Hmm.
roses and thorns, after the show, we discuss like, what could we do better, or what didn't we think wasn't that great? And every time we have a trap episode where we're constantly checking every door for a trap, it kind of like in our perspective, I don't know what the viewer's perspective is, but we're like, yeah, we spent too much time figuring out traps. I don't know, we should just find a way to expedite that so we're not
Hmm.
having to roll uh investigation every freaking door we come across, So like, but around the table offline, I think I like around the table better. I'm mixing up
Yeah.
terminologies now. Uh, like, that seems okay, like, yes, please check every door, I don't want a trap to go off, So it's just, like, kinda
Hmm.
that perspective of, "This is taking too long, and is this entertaining? Or people getting bored and tuning out?" And as opposed to, like, around the table, we're like, yeah, let's I don't wanna take damage." But, like but
Hmm.
that's exciting on live stream if the trap goes off, then that's exciting for viewers.
Yeah, and it's a weird balance of like of me. It's like how when do I want to kick in and just use the passives versus letting people roll dice, because rolling dice is more fun, that kind of stuff. But to answer your question, Meerkat, yeah, roses and thorns. It's some people call them like stars and wishes as well, but I've always called it roses and thorns just from the DMs in the past that I've had games with. So the idea are roses are the things that you like, the things that were good about the session, and then the thorns are the things that not necessarily like bad, but they're things that you'd want to work on to help make the game better. Um, those kind of things like, hey, could we do less of this kind of type of stuff? So that's what roses and thorns are, and I think it's a really great tool. To be honest, is I think that as long as all of the players in the DM are like open and honest with each other, it can really help shape the game to figure out what everyone wants to do. Um, So yeah,
I
I like
agree.
them.
Because we've actually the stream or the show has improved because of that. Because like
Mhm,
I think we should start like it's not just it's also like production value too. It's like, oh hey, if we do this, I think this would be a better experience for everybody,
mhm.
or things like that. So it's just like I've never done that before until you were my DM Max, because
Mhm,
usually we're like sometimes we're like, oh, what do you guys think of the session with my other group, and they're like, oh yeah, it was great, da da da, and then
mhm.
that's
Yeah, and that's pretty much
that's
it.
it. Yeah.
You brought something up that kinda sparked my brain a little bit as you talk about production value. That's something that's different on behind the scenes too. So, thinking about it from the live stream perspective, like, so if you're playing at home, you can put whatever music you want on your
Oh yeah.
playlist and play along and have it in the background.
Oh, yeah,
Um, uh, uh
a lot of Final Fantasy, baby.
yeah, on stream, we can't do that.
Yeah.
So all of the music that we play are pieces that I have meticulously found, that we've either bought licenses to use them or that they're royalty free with attribution, which is why you'll see the name of the track playing on the bottom of the stream, or you'll see it in like the YouTube description and things like that. The people that we use, so that's something that we have to be very careful about, is making sure that the music that we play, we're allowed and have a license to play it. um One, because it's the right thing to do, because artists should have attribution for their work, based on what the guidelines they set forth, because it's their creative works.
Yes.
But also, um, having music like copyright striked or like muting a stream would kill the viewing experience for anyone that would watch it after the fact. So
Yeah.
if we use a copywritten song and a minute of the VOD gets muted or something like that, like you know we
Yeah,
could miss some stuff.
especially if we're like hard hitting RP moment or like a giant lore dump or the party
Hmm.
got betrayed and then they're like, and then this guy does, and then the stream's muted for 5 minutes and the yeah, it just ruins the experience for listeners and viewers. And then yeah, on the YouTube side, like if you get 3 copy strikes, your channel's deleted forever.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is I know like a lot of people will use like video game music because it's usually like safe to use. It won't get striked, but still aren't supposed to. And I
Yeah.
like to err on like heavily on the side of caution, because I don't know if I've talked about this a little bit on stream, where the theme song we used for Castles and Cantrips campaign 1 in our intro video, I had purchased the license for it to use it, did everything right. Every single one of I think the first 30 videos were they weren't a copyright strike. They
We're
were the
flagged.
one they were copyright flagged. And oh man, that I had to send emails weekly to the company that I use till they finally solved it. And that stuff can be a nightmare.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's insane. Aside from that though, and not including music, but like the maps that I use for combat.
Oh, yeah.
I just can't grab a picture that from somewhere. I just can't grab like a map someone tossed out for free. That's why what I do is I use Patreon. So there's some music Patreon that I use that gives me the right to use the music, and there's also map makers on Patreon that I've reached out to specifically and said, "Can I use it for my stream? Will you allow that?" And then that's why there's usually they'll allow that kind of stuff and say, "Yeah, yeah, sure, no problem." But you've got to have that that thing saying
The
you can
link.
use it. Yeah.
Yep. You
Um,
need written confirmation.
yeah.
Never
Yep.
get verbal.
Yeah, and that's super important because a great example. I hate to say great, a very what's the word I'm looking for? Poignant? No,
Relevant?
relevant. Thank you. A very relevant example is I know when Jesse Cox, the YouTuber and streamer, was running a Star Wars campaign, and he found a map of an interior of a ship that he thought was official material that he had right to use. It turns out it's someone had basically taken that ship and made their own art for it. He almost lost his channel because of it.
Yeah, I
It was
remember that.
it was a huge misunderstanding. I think it all eventually got worked out, but like that terrifies me. Like all the work that we put in,
Yeah.
and if I grab like a map that I don't have like explicit permission to use, like I would hate that. That would ruin everything. So that's something that people probably don't think about, but a lot goes into the sign, and a lot goes behind the scenes for that. And I guess a great segue is everyone who like subscribes on Twitch or all of like our Patreon supporters. That's where that goes to, so we can use cool maps and music and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're in the
Um,
red.
yeah, I don't think anything made any money from this.
Um, but yeah, again, like the art, the tokens, right? For example, that because we use on the VTT
Yes,
is all licensed tokens. Like where if you played offline,
you can just grab
well, not
whatever picture you
offline,
want.
off camera. Yeah, your mask could be whatever, your tokens could be whatever. And thank God for we have Funny Dreadful to
I
to
know.
have OC art, right? Or our original characters.
Yeah.
Because that's expensive. Like if we didn't have like the tools and the personnel to make Casters and Cantrips what it is, this show would be very expensive.
Hmm. Yeah. Thank you, Bun, for making all the wonderful art.
Oh, it's so talented,
Yeah, so
amazing.
talented. If you haven't paid attention to our
And
Twitter
Village,
posts,
yes. Thank you, Village.
and Village too made the emotes as well. Village made the emotes for our channel. I think she's listed as an emote artist on the stream too. I think.
I, I believe so.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, aside from that, but all the art that's made, all the assets for stream, Bun does, and the emotes Village does. Um, and things that you don't think about too are all of the monsters that I use. They have to have tokens to be represented on the map. And that's where we're very lucky that Wizards of the Coast has a fan content policy that allows you to use that artwork for your live streams. Otherwise, y'all be fighting like colored, letters or something like that.
Listen, if I need to step in and draw some stick figure orcs and stuff, I'm
Yeah,
ready. I am ready.
yeah, absolutely.
You've seen my
Even
have you seen my centaurs? You don't want that on this channel, okay?
yeah, even like obstacles that I'll include on maps are the same thing because there's certain patrons that will make like dungeon pieces that you can put on maps and stuff like that. So it's those are a lot of things that people really don't think about too. Is that we've got to be very meticulous and very careful about those things as
Alright,
well.
let me see if you guys can nope, this is not there it is.
I don't know if
Well,
it's
it
going to come
stopped for
through,
a brief
but
second. Yeah, but that I drew a centaur on top of another centaur. Not in that what you're thinking, okay? Get your mind out of the gutter.
do you so let me ask you this. We talked about character stuff. When you're creating a new character for like let's say your character for campaign 2,
Uh-huh.
um did did having to stream that character influence or influence your decision making when you're creating a brand new character, whether it be like race, class, how you're going to RP, that kind of stuff.
Um, I think for Ron in campaign 1, that didn't really influence my decision to go with a Firbolg, a Paladin, and the way the personality, but, like, for
Hmm.
campaign 2, I was more cognizant of those things. I was like, "Well, what's what is not Ron? Because I don't wanna play the same character,
Yeah.
right? But I also want" but then so now this character needs to be different, different class, different race, different personality, different everything, right? So I was like, and then in my mind, I also was like, well, what is going to be more entertaining? Not entertaining because I thought Ron was pretty fun to play. But like,
Hmm.
how can this character better showcase my acting capabilities or my voice acting capabilities? Because Ron was pretty like stoic, pretty straightforward, and
Hmm.
didn't really have much range. And then so this character, I was like, well, I want to have more, be more expressive, have more range with this character.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I guess
And go ahead.
not. So yes, but not like it didn't 100% affect my decision. Like, I still wanted to play a character that I wanna play, and not just
Yeah.
for the sake of live streaming and doing a performance or a show.
Yeah, because that's one thing that is important. That's still the same is the players want to have fun, and the audience wants them to have fun too. So I don't think anyone would I wouldn't want anyone to make a decision just because they thought it was better for stream. Because what's ultimately going to be better for stream is what's fun to them, ideally. But I was looking at the lineup for campaign 2. I think they are all new classes for the most part compared to campaign 1.
Yes, there's no overlap.
There's a tiny
A
overlap
little
on
smidge,
there's a
but
smidge overlap, but for the most part, it's all new classes.
and we're adding Nina to the
Mhm.
roster, to the cast, so that's also, like, a new thing that's
Yeah.
gonna change things up and like, a whole new dynamic. I know another person that we'll be interacting with, so
Mhm.
because I think and we played with Nina before, so we know she's gonna be great, but, like,
Mhm.
none of us knew how we were gonna interact with one another,
It's
ex
true.
um, especially in we're live streaming this, like, I've never met Mac until the campaign. I've only spoken to VS through his streams, right? So we never
Mhm.
were in a call together, so we didn't know how things were gonna pan out, like,
Yeah, I've never met VS.
personality-wise. Are we gonna clash? Like, not just as our characters, but are we gonna clash as people with, you know, but
I just I
fortunately, like all everyone meld together. We're like all fantastic friends. Like it just everything just worked. It was like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I think that the whole like the group was pretty much like a shot in the dark, and then we hit the bullseye.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah, I'm glad about the new classes because I learned a lot about mechanics watching as a D&D noob. Oh, well, that's good to
Yeah,
know.
I don't think we've officially revealed the classes yet, have we? I know we revealed the art. I won't say, but you could probably guess since I said that they're almost all new. There's only so many classes, so
You could cross out 4.
yeah, you can cross out 4 of them. Anything else you could think of that's different streaming versus playing at home?
We have to look nice-ish, we gotta be presentable,
Yes.
right? We at home, you
Mhm.
could wear I mean, I wear tank tops anyways, but, like, I'm in my I'm wearing flippy floppies when my friends are over, I'm wearing gym shorts, I don't care about what my hair looks like, or if I'm, like,
Mhm.
smelly. I mean, I'm not smelly, but well, I am smelly because I come home from the gym and then my friends are already here, so we're
Yeah, that's
like,
true
"Sorry."
because the night you play is you go we go straight
It's
from the gym and then you go to
yeah,
play.
it's gym night.
Is that
Um,
that's on Thursdays, right?
yes.
Mine's the same way because I play on Thursdays, so I come home and then start playing.
I bought some cheap Axe body spray, like, bringing it back to the early 2000s and just,
Nice.
like, freshen up. I was like, "Alright, let's play some D&D." "Hey,
Speaking of
Village."
Village, there she is.
There she is.
We can
Oh,
stop talking about her now.
yeah, shh.
I'm just kidding. We were saying nice things about you, Village.
Yeah, about your amazing art
Mhm.
and how much you helped our channel.
Yes. Yes. But that's a good point. Like, and I know, like, because I'm always presentable from here up. That's all I have to do for stream for the most part. But I know for Bun, I'll speak in personal experience because Bun lives here. Is that for playing D&D with just friends versus playing D&D on stream? It's different to her, and I think she mentioned it in this chat. Is that um getting all makeup and everything to look right with the lighting and all that
Yeah.
takes a lot.
Yeah, again, production, like, stuff you don't have to
Hmm.
worry about when you're playing with your friends. There's no camera and it's not being recorded.
Hmm.
Uh, so I would say there is more pressure, but since we've done this for over 2 years now, that
Hmm.
I think we still get the jitters when the timer's on and we're like, "Okay, it's go time." But, like, once we're
Hmm.
going, like, all those nerves and jitters go away, but you don't have to worry about any of that when we're at home or playing with your friends.
Yeah, I'm losing my mind about campaign 2, but I know
I
as soon as we
I
go, it's
bet.
gonna be fine. But I'm like losing my mind here.
I'm bouncing between voices. I created a new voice. I was like, "Oh, maybe I should do it this way. Maybe I'll sound more like myself naturally, but with, like, a slight accents." So I'm
Hmm.
still I'm still again, it's probably gonna come down to camera time, and we're gonna go, and what the first words come out of my character, and it's like, "Okay, that's the voice I had to stick with for the next foreseeable year or 2."
Hmm. Yeah, good question, Village. Does the online streaming aspect play into the types of characters you play? I think I asked you similarly, but I think it informs more like your decision making in the moment, but not really like what you want to play.
Yeah. So, like TLDR, we still want to play the characters we want to play because if it's not fun, then it's not fun for us and it's not fun for the viewers. But my decision for this character definitely impacted of what I wanted to do to be different enough from Ron's character.
Hmm. Does the medium of the stream change how I DM? That's a really interesting question
I was gonna bring that up.
because yeah, because I've only DM'd once. Well, so I did I did I ran a very small portion of campaign 1 for the mods to see if I could actually do this before I just YOLO'd and went into the stream with a whole bunch of people. So the first game with the mods ended up being five episodes. And it went up until it was in Aramore, and it went up until the dragon, and they did that all in 5 episodes. And that was kind of the test run for me of I made this, this world, these characters, like, does it actually work? Is it possible? And got feedback and stuff from them. Um, Aside from that, I've ran very little, like, long time ago. So I I guess in a roundabout ways, I don't know. I haven't ran enough off stream ish to really have a comparison. And I know for me, and I kind of feel bad with some of my friends groups, is that while I'm running this, like I don't want to run two campaigns. That sounds like torture to me. Is having to run this game and then having to run something else on another day. And my personality is um I would want them both to be excellent, which means that I would sacrifice my time elsewhere. And I don't want to do that.
Uh, yeah. Uh, yeah. What Aeon Six said is you're not so picky, but like if you didn't like your voice, then you can just roll with it. But like, yeah, off
Yeah.
because in my other group, my friend, his accent changes every other week, and I was like, hey, is that what voice? What accent are you going with this session? Because I need to know who your character is because it changes all the time. So I don't know. I don't know if for me personally, I don't think I could do that. Um, like if I didn't like my character's voice, I would change it mid campaign. But like again, I'm already of thinking of this like, can I do this voice for 3 hours? Is this something I'm comfortable with and not going to destroy my voice? And yeah, like I could not do Totoro ever. If you guys don't know who Totoro is, it's basically Toad from Mario, but a Lalafell from Final Fantasy 14. Um, because I get when I did my Goob Gob for the one shot, I was totally considered doing Totoro, right? But I
Yeah.
was like, it's funny it's a love or hate voice. Either other people love it or people hate it, and I was like, I don't know if I can maintain that voice for 3 hours without destroying my throat. Um, but yeah, like all these things coming up to like at home, on my other game, like it doesn't matter. I can if I want to damage my voice, I can because I won't. I'm not exerting myself, right? But if we're on stream and like I potentially have to talk for over 3 hours, then like I have to mentally think of that before we go live. So
Mhm. It's also something that I feel like I try really hard for live stream to have a varied amount of different like inflections and accents and voices for NPCs, because I know being on stream and all of us being online, that is like the only real indication of who they're talking to. Other, I could do mannerisms and things like that, but they're just going to key on as like, who, what does this person sound like? So I try to put a lot of effort into what people's voices are, because
I
I
think
think
you do a
that it's
fantastic job.
necessary.
Like
Thanks.
especially when there's multiple NPCs and you have to bounce between voices, you do a great job, and it really makes the world feel alive,
Hmm.
especially when you hear like different accents. It's not just European English, right, or British. You also have like Scottish. You have like Irish.
Hmm. I've did some very little French, Spanish was in there, like Spain, which I'm not great at. I'm not saying that I'm great at it, but I try real hard.
Yeah, that's also the thing I think about too, like, when if I'm doing an English accent, and there's, like, tons of regions with different
Hmm.
dialects, but, like, am I doing it right? Am I doing it proper? I have no clue, but
I'm so happy you like the trial Aeon because I worked really hard on that. I'm so happy that someone liked it. There were a lot of, oh man, there's a lot of NPCs there that had to talk. Yeah, that was a good one.
uh, let's see. Yeah, if you guys have questions, let it rain. Well, Green says, "I asked my friend who is a dialect coach if they ever considered tapping into the TTRPG scene, and they said they had no idea about it." Wow.
What? Send them this way. Come on.
Yeah,
You too, Crean.
TTRPGs are huge for dialect coaches. I guess maybe not for people who are playing around the table or at home, but like, uh, people like us who are doing voices, but not in a professional capacity. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. Yep.
Bluties.
And I mean, we do have guests that come through um on the campaign as well too, which is always fun.
Special guests. I like the special guests. It like mixes up the show and the story.
Hmm. That would be very interesting, Green. I'd like to see what a cyberpunk story would look slash sound like if it took place on a Polynesian island. Very interesting. And that's something that I try to do as a DM, is trying to pull. It's kind of a hard balance too, trying to pull from as many different cultures as possible, because I don't want everything just to feel like you're in medieval Europe. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
um, but yeah, it's tough though. Um, for
Being a
me
white
to
guy.
try and yes, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I'm a white
For
dude,
sure.
and like it's tough for me because I want to be able, like, I want to be able to have other cultures best represented, but I don't need to be the person probably representing them. But I mean,
Like
I don't
I
know.
would
It's
love to play an Asian character, but because it's my appearance, right? If I did an Asian accent, then people are like, "Oh, he's being offensive," but because they don't know that I'm actually Asian, but it's just because I don't, my appearance doesn't look like it.
mhm.
That's why I don't do it, even though I am Asian. So it's just like one of those things I worry about because of the visual aspect, and then people will judge me because I don't have that much of Asian features.
I would say fuck them. Do what you want, man. Who cares what they think? Um, Couple questions. There's one from Village and one from Majestic Wolf. We'll do Village because hers came in first. Let's see. Oh, another one from Zeus too. We got three in a row. Okay, so we'll do in a row. Zeus's first. What's something that you would only do in a non-streamed game that would be a disaster in a streamed one? Ah, that's a really good question. I might have to table it because I don't have an immediate answer for that. I know we talked about things we avoid.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. Let me think about this for a moment. I
I
know,
think language is a lot. Like, I know we curse sometimes in
yeah,
live stream, and I know like YouTube doesn't like that. So I don't know if we're cognizant of trying to hold back on our cursing, but like, yeah, if we're off camera, like, people are gonna fly like a sailor.
yeah. Bun had something like player romance, fade to black. I fade to black anyway for any kind of romance type stuff. I think one thing more of like a technical aspect would be like a giant, like big sprawling like mega dungeon, just from a technical aspect, because it's very hard for me to do on stream because there's a limited area that I can only show, there's that I can only show for the audience. So if everyone's split their different ways, I literally couldn't show the map to everybody. So that's probably something that would be a disaster, is trying to get, I'm talking like a gigantic several hundred feet by several hundred feet like mega dungeon. It just would not work for stream with kind of how we have things laid out here. So if you'll notice, the big dungeons that I use have different wings that have different maps, so it can be kind of piecemealed together. I know the vampires manor. I had a flow chart on the side of this entrance leads to this map, so I know what scene to switch to. Because it was pretty intricate with a lot of hidden doors and things like that.
Yep, romance, descriptive romance. That's a big no-no on stream. I don't think anyone wants to
Yeah,
hear the DM describe how your intimate scene is going, even offline for that matter. Like,
that's a very eloquent way to put that, though. Aeon, descriptive romance. I'm gonna use that. Descriptive romance.
describe by
Save
romance.
that
Yeah.
for your novels for later. Next question that Village had: how do you think a player character death will affect the streamed format? I've given a lot of thought about this because I want to be as prepared as I can. And it did not happen during campaign one. Um,
But I DM'd you. I was like, "Hey,
yeah,
if I die, can I have a
um,
a touching moment?"
yeah. I think that, and I'm not saying that like player death is going to be inevitable, right? at some point. And I just hope that it is sort of a pivotal character building moment for the rest of the party. I don't shy away from it. And in fact, the players know that, some combat's hard and you might not make it. I think there's been a couple times where I've told you that. I was like, be prepared because I'm not pulling punches here. So I think it'll be a very emotional moment. I think it'll be a fantastic story moment. But it's just conjecture until it happens, right? But I think that it's one of those things that even offline you have to treat very delicately, because D&D is much different now than it was many, many, many years ago when it first started. Is that people get attached to their characters, they want to tell the story, and having an abrupt end to that can be really emotional. I hope
Yeah.
that I answered that. Yeah. And then Majestic Wolf, how do you DMPC without taking over? Because I wanted to be a merfolk cleric in my own game. That's a good question. I think that there's a couple things that you should do with DMPCing. Um, One, the way that I do it is, does this NPC add to the story? Do the players need them for something? Are they required for something? Because the last thing that you want is your DMPC to take all the spotlight, because that's not what it's about. It's about the players telling the story and the DM sort of creating that environment. So I don't know how it would work if if I had a PC as well that I played with. I wouldn't want to do that as a DM. Um, but I tried to insert like pivotal characters for you all to be companions with for certain goals. So what comes to mind is like Risa. You had a specific mission that she had to help you with to go in this um one specific place. Another great example, I always forget his name now. Um, which makes me feel sad because I really liked him as a character. Um,
Describe the character to me. Maybe I can think in
how
my
Ron
head.
got his plate armor.
Oh, Sir Virgil.
Thank you. I couldn't think Virgil. The word Virgil was gone, but yeah, Sir Virgil. Specific purpose, to help you all, and then what happened
No,
happened.
not Sir Brannus.
Yeah, I mean Brannis. There were some occasions where, I mean, he was there. He was less of a DMPC. Like, he didn't really fight and things besides you all. I don't think, for the most part. You got to be strategic about it. You don't want your PC to take over, um, or outshine the other players. Give them a purpose. Um, let them do what they have to do, and let them finish their journey, and then gracefully bow out. Is how I would do it.
Yeah, because it could easily turn into a thing where if players are not figuring it out, and then your DMPC is like, "Oh, we should do this. Oh, we should go this way." But like
Exactly.
then you're not playing with your group. You're telling them what to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Um,
have a question. I mean,
I
I
know that we
feel
had a question early on from Meerkat in the beginning, since we're
I
kind of
got
going
yeah,
off the wall.
I got it. Do you classify Lich as undead? Me personally, I do not. As from what I've read, could have read it wrong, but still, it doesn't say that the Lich has to die, but rather strips himself of his mortality. So instead, I'd classify him as undying than undead, like a zombie or skeleton. He can grow thin, lose his flesh, but that's just decaying, not dying. What is your thoughts on this?
This might be um very simplistic, but I would say the Dungeon Master Guide says that the Lich is undead as its creature type, and I would probably go as far as that, to be honest.
Yeah,
That
because lore
is what I would
wise,
do.
undying is different. Undead is through evil, dark means, where undying is through divine, positive means. So, if you want to get into that, the lore crunch of what the difference
Yeah.
between undead and undying are.
Hmm. Yeah. And I'll point to this then. The first flavor text line of the Lich in the Monster Manual. Liches are the remains of a great wizard who embrace undeath. as a means of preserving themselves. So undeath to me means undead. That's what that means to me because there's a lot of other sentient undead creatures to me
But
anyway.
yeah, but if this is like in the context without having context, but if this is like your game and you're the DM and you want the lich to be that way, then yeah, go for it.
Do
Or
whatever you want.
if your DM is cool with you being an undying lich instead of an undead lich, then yeah, go for it.
Hmm.
Play your way, as I always say.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. Anyone else have any questions while we're answering the we got the old question machine going?
Um, uh, my DM is a robot that just goes along with us and doesn't do much for the group. With 3 people. Sorry, I think I read chat
Oh,
out of context.
I see. So you're talking about your DMPC is basically just someone there to make sure that they don't die. They're like a combat helper. Hmm. Yeah. All good questions, I think. All good questions. Would I allow Warforged in my campaign? Yeah, I would say so. Especially in campaign 2. The question never came up, but yeah, especially in campaign 2, I would. They I don't think you ran into very few in campaign 1 for a reason, and
Yeah,
that
one of them.
that really kind of went unexplored though because you just didn't go in a certain direction really to explore it. Nothing on you all, but it just didn't come up.
I think that's another thing. Um, like streaming versus not
Yes.
streaming is um because we're so focused because we're live streaming. We tend to either miss things or not pick up on clues or not having the time to deliberate on like those kinds of things. Like, what is the
Mhm.
Warforged doing here? Where do they come from? Like, I think that kind of flew over our heads.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's just like another difference between live streaming and not streaming D&D. It's just like we miss a lot of things because we're kind of like trying to focus on the experience.
Mhm. From just Wolf as a combat helper, okay, like you just want to keep playing him, talk to your group. This is the best thing I can say is talk to your group about it and see what they think is okay versus not okay. Is like, are they okay having someone to help them around in combat and just kind of stand by and be there for them? Ask them because you can balance without it unless you just want to play something.
There was a question about homebrew races. I forgot who brought it up.
I didn't see it, but I see Zeus is there. Um, I see Zeus is in that D&D is an encyclopedia of possible choices to make the world, characters, monsters, magic, etc. Are there any restrictions you had for campaign 1 and 2, or was it the whole enchilada available? I think for campaign 1, I just said, "Hey, whatever you want." And in campaign 2, I did pare some of those down because after living, in Lands of Arzan for 2 years, it made sense to me of like, "Oh, if they would have picked this really wouldn't have made sense for the kind of world that I'm building." So there were some restrictions for campaign 2 as far as like the different races that players could play. Um and I think that makes sense, and I think any DM can do that too based on what world you're building. Just talk to your players about it. I'm trying to remember what some of them were. I could find them. Um,
Well, you said no spelljammer races.
yeah, most Spelljammer. I think I talked about not having like Gith, not having like Simic hybrid, some of like the Ravnica stuff, a couple of those things. But it was really just more of like, hey, don't use these unless. And I always have the caveat is like, unless you have a really, really great reason and you want to talk to me about it, then let's talk. But otherwise, let's avoid it. But um,
Yeah, for the most part, everything was pretty much on the
yeah, yeah.
table.
Oh yeah, Wolf. Majestic Wolf was asking, would you ever make custom races or custom monster homebrew? Custom races. Um, Like from scratch, probably not. Homebrew type stuff, there's some stuff coming up in campaign too. I'll say that. Some custom like homebrew race type stuff. Custom monster homebrew all the time, all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
so that's one thing that I've learned is just because you're fighting a troll doesn't mean the stat block you can look up in the monster manual is the same as what you're facing. So all the time, adding things, taking things away, figuring out what works. Hey, maybe this person uses fire magic instead of like thunder and magic and stuff like that. So yeah, all the time.
Yep, I
Hmm.
did that a ton in the round shot as well. Like the bagman, completely.
Yeah, statless. There's the
Yep.
picture of him in the book. Village is asking if you were to upgrade the production of the stream in any way, what would it be? Man, it's a good question.
Like, is this like just pie in the sky? Doesn't matter how much money it costs, but if we could have it,
Is this like we spared no expense, like Jurassic Park style, like
or is this like
small incremental
pie in the
changes?
okay pie in the sky? I would love it if we had like a studio warehouse and we had a set and then all of us can be around the table and we had all
Yeah.
these amazing lightings and cameras and set pieces.
Hmm.
Uh Mainly for the excuse of playing in person with our wonderful friends. But yeah, that would what I would pick if
Yeah.
we had the one thing and unlimited resources.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish that too. Um, that would be an amazing experience. What's really funny though, um, is I have never DM'd not on the internet. I have never been a DM for not on the internet. So I don't know what our pie in the sky loadout would look like. Actually, let me try this. Let's thought experiment this because I have three monitors, one in the middle, two on the sides. And I'm so used to that because in my brain, I will look things up on the fly. I have all kinds of tabs open. I have all the stream shit open. I think that I would keep that for live. And I think what I would do is I would have three monitors and make the backside look like a DM screen.
Mm.
And that way I can still have my same setup. Because that would be great because I don't know if I don't want like little post-it notes and stuff. I'd rather just use the tech. Um, and if we're all playing in person, I would rather have a table that would have a giant screen in the middle
Oh yeah,
so that I could still show the same maps that I like to use because I don't know if I have an interest of like physically building my own maps and stuff like that, like with like miniatures and stuff like that. That's not something that I've ever really done or been interested in. So I would probably still keep the digital maps, but then play them on a screen and have the tokens on top of them
I
for
agree.
players.
Because like all the Dwarven Forge stuff, the set pieces, that is a lot of work to set up. And what if your party doesn't want to go there? What are you gonna do with this set you already put together? I feel like it kind of locks down your
Hmm.
what the game's gonna be if you build out these elaborate like maps with
Yeah,
physical pieces.
there's a lot of maps that I there's a lot of maps that I have in the pipeline of just in cases that don't always get used. So, and I like the idea of animated maps. I think that would be
Yeah,
I would
they
like
look
that.
great, like fantastic.
And if only I could, if you could use your miniature and when you move it on the TV, it moves on the map, but that'd be a totally different like
You need
touch
to get into
screen
some
weird stuff. Yeah.
crazy AR, FRID stuff. I don't know, Bluetooth technology.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But yeah, that's a good point. I would also love the fact of like when you brought up like having like a big like space, a warehouse space for like the group and stuff of having other sets for other content
Oh yeah,
to be able to create because that would enable us to be able to create a lot of cool like more cooler stuff too. Imagine this our Tome of Knowledge format being different where we can actually talk, have guests like in the same space as us, or
cool,
like out of
cool comfy
combat, how like
chairs.
yeah, how that would look out of combat, a nice like lounge area, that kind of stuff.
I mean, I would love to work with you, Max. If you wanted to make a homebrew race because we do that a lot on my other group.
Hmm.
I got a lot of experience there if you wanna, like, come up with, like, a new race, and then since we don't need to worry about stats because of Tasha's,
Hmm.
and then just, like, think of basically the abilities that the race would have.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that, I don't know if I necessarily have that drive of just making it new because you don't really have to. I've had one idea that came up that I'm using for campaign 2 because I like the idea. I'm more of like a results driven of like, how will this make campaign 2 better? Okay, I'll make this because I think it makes it better. I don't know if I could just be like, I'm gonna make a new homebrew today and just kind of sit down and do it. That's not how my brain works. I need like an objective of why I'm doing it.
He says that's how they done it over there in person. They have a set in the industrial area that's built out to have those LED screens.
Ooh, you got your own
Like, oh, man.
volume?
Wowee.
That's what I want. Volume. And then have someone that could change the LED screens behind based on the environment that you're in. If we're talking pie in the sky, but
Oh, yeah, we got a whole production team, people pushing buttons, and we're just there to do our thing.
I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't have to run the stream and DM at the same time. That would free up so much brain power for me.
Yeah, you just focus on the experience. You don't have to push buttons and nothing.
Yeah. Yep. It was so weird in the Mob Mini Worlds where I was just playing and running the stream and didn't have to DM. So weird at first.
We would have, like, an earpiece, though, where some person going like, "Alright, 5-minute break coming up," like
Yeah. Yep.
I'm curious. I would love to talk to, like, the people on Vampire by Night or Hyper RPG because they've had those setups and how they run it. It'd be awesome to sit in on, like, the experience or learn from them.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't know. It would be interesting to have to look and see like what could we change in our current setup to give us that much more lift. That would be interesting. I don't know. What do you all want to see? What production value do you think is missing from our stream? What would
Yeah,
you like?
we rarely get feedback. So yeah, please let us know how we can improve, what can we do better, like because we're always seeking out those kinds of things, especially for like when Max and I first started Toma Knowledge. Like we uh Bun basically was like, all right, based on these 2 episodes, here's how you should improve. We're like, oh, thank you so much for the
Yeah.
feedback because I would say the first maybe 4 episodes are pretty rough.
I have one idea that we talked about that I just need the time to do it, but like I don't know when I'm going to find that time. I wanted to do it for the launch of campaign 2, but there's no way that's happening because I haven't even looked at it yet. Um, you know what you know what I'm talking about? I think I'll just tell chat that it's in my
Yeah,
mind
good.
that I'm working on it. So I know the D&D Beyond extension for Twitch has been broken forever. So my
They're not
plan,
updating that.
they're not ever. So my plan was to create my own Twitch extension that it would allow us to have something similar to what we had way back when. So you could see in real time like the characters and in like some of their stats and some of their abilities and stuff like that. But
Oh. Yeah, I can't wait for you to work on that. Let's see. Village wants more costumes, more explosions, fog, an animated TV show. Oh, that would be dope.
yes.
Oh my god, if people picked up this show and they're like, "Hey, we want to make a show, please." More ambient sounds? Oh, okay. I thought we had a good amount of ambient sounds, but they want more ambient sounds.
More. I think I've got music rolling the whole time. I know that one thing that might not translate in the live streams is, so this is the problem with getting music from different sources, that is that they're all mixed and mastered at different levels. So some songs are louder than others, so I'm constantly having to play with the volume to make sure it's a good level for chat or for the audience too. But
6 seasons in a movie.
yeah, something where we can interact like stream loots.
What's stream loots?
um I think Robert uses some stuff like that.
Is that they can like spend channel points or bits to to activate something? Is that how that works?
I think so. Yeah. Because we do very little of that. We just have, the poll at the end to grant inspiration to the MVP. I'm always super careful on that because I want it to still be immersive. I don't want those things to pop up all the time and like distract and stuff like that. More small time interactions like how we do MVP would be fun. What do you mean by that, Village? Expand on that. Like something we can do
Oh,
during.
MVP when we take the break and then have MVP at the end? Interesting. 2 MVP polls then.
Mhm. Yeah, we could look into something like Streamlabs if you think it would help.
Yeah, if
Um,
you guys wanna post in the Discord of, like, what type of things do you want to interact with our stream? Because since we are, like, basically full immersion mode, like, what are the
mhm,
things that you want to see out of Streamloots? Like, do you wanna interact with the current scene, or, like, is this, like, you giving people disadvantage or advantage? Just, like, stuff like that?
mhm. Aeon, you like the character videos played during break. We'll need that again. That's a great idea. I love those videos. We need to make more of them. I think things will build a little more as campaign 2 sort of ramps up. It's hard to do those sort of things when you haven't played the character yet. Almost kind of like like intro video. Like we don't really have an intro. We're not gonna have an intro video until later on, until we can kind of get a feel for the characters in the campaign and stuff like that. Because starting new campaigns is a lot of work. And Bun is only one person. She can only do so much art. So yeah, I always hesitate for viewers to have like direct control over the story.
Remind me to bring you Eagle Bomb tomorrow, Max, for
Eagle
fun.
Bomb, is that different than Tiger Bomb?
It's yes, they're essentially the same thing, but this is the liquefied version, and it's
Oh,
green,
okay.
and you're just gonna Bun's gonna end up smelling like an old Asian lady, basically.
I'm gonna go slap some icy hot in her hands after this too. Thanks for reminding me. But yeah, throw your ideas in the Discord, please, because if we put links in the chat, we won't see them.
Discord.gg/casters and cantrips.
Yep, it's right there in the chats too. Right there in the chats. But yeah, thanks so much for the suggestions, y'all. And I'll say too, like I know that we all want the stream to be better and have a
Yes.
better experience for the chat. So if you ever have any suggestions, like feel free to post them, like tweet it at us, put them in the Discord, what have you, and we'll take a look at it and see if it works for us. It's kind of like what we say at work is like we love feedback. Not all feedback is actionable. Like there's some things that we just can't do, but I'd rather see it and be able to determine that than not ever knowing. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
any words of wisdom you want to sign us out with, Moobs?
Oh man, you
I know I did it on purpose
really
too.
popped it on me. Well, just just be great.
just be great. You heard it here first from the man himself. Moobs like Jagger. Just be great, everybody.
Just
Just
be
be
great.
great.
Yeah,
This
do donuts,
Friday,
not drugs.
yeah, this Friday, April 21st, 6 p.m. Campaign 2 is going to start. Very excited. Have whole new characters, whole new cast member, Nina Nikolic, voice actor extraordinaire. It's going to be wild. I'm so excited.
Oh,
Uh,
I do. There is one thing I want to do because we talked about Totoro,
yes.
one of the voices I do, but I didn't do it. But there's people in chat who've heard it. But I'm gonna do the voice just so people don't have FOMO or anything.
Are you going to sign us off with it? Whatever you say. Whatever you say is signing off the stream, and I'm going to end it right when
Oh,
you
we're
finish.
gonna edit right. Okay.
I'm going to go right to the credits after this. So you got
Okay.
to make it good.
All right. Here we go. All right, everybody, we're gonna have a great time. April 21st is the start of campaign 2. It's gonna be a great show, a great stream. We got the original cast plus Nina, who's gonna be joining the stream. It's gonna be a great time, and we hope to see you there 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern. All right, well, everyone have a great night. Do drugs or no, don't do drugs. Do donuts, but not drugs. Yeah. All right, have a good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody. God, I'm crying.